The third question we need to ask in order to define what our burden is, what do you care about that others don't? Now, this is an amazing thing because you might be walking around and you have this burden and you have this righteous anger and you say, why don't other people see this? That you have it, but the 5 people around you could care less. Now, it might be about the environment and you're thinking, why don't people understand how important the environment is and we have to do something to stop the slaughter of the environment? And you wonder why no one else sees this, or they're not as excited about it as you are. Or maybe for you, it's our young people, and you see all the young people that are around, and you say, something needs to happen with them. Somebody needs to help them. Or maybe you see young kids in the inner city, and you say they're starting out in life with strikes against them all over the place, and it's just unfair. Something needs to happen. Something, mentoring them, giving them a leg up, giving them a break, helping them out. And that's your burden, and that's your passion. You think, why can't other people see this? Why can't they get behind this? And we all do something about it. So this is the thing that I want you to be plagued with. I want you to lose sleep over this week. I really do. Because I want you to be able to fill in the blank. I am burdened by. Because I want to tell you, every single one of us in this room, we need to be burdened by something. If we're not burdened by something, we are living a passionless life. And that's not what God wants for us at all. He wants us to be passionate about something. First of all, He wants us to be passionate about Him. Second, He wants us to be passionate about each other. And He wants us to be passionate about the world, about the injustice, and how we can make a difference. I am burdened by. If you can't fill in the blank, I will be praying for you this week that you do not get to sleep until this happens. I am burdened by. And I want you to be troubled by it deeply. So here are some wrong ways to handle burdens. First of all, you can complain about it. Oh, if the government would just do something about this. Oh, you know, I have a dysfunctional family, and so that's just the way it is. My church, oh my goodness, if my church would just get together on this, if they would just understand it, it's always someone else's fault. I have one word for you. If all you're doing is complaining about it, this one word is be quiet and do something about it. Because all of our complaining doesn't do a thing. Stop complaining. Because God has placed the burden on your heart, and get out and do something about it. The second thing we do is we ignore it. We see these kids on television on Sunday morning, you know, where the flies all over their face and they don't have food. They're obviously suffering from malnutrition, and we are so bothered by it that we say, let's turn the channel. Now, I have no problem if you decide to turn the channel. But don't ignore the fact that God may be leading you to do something about this thing. And if He is, stop ignoring it. Stop putting our heads in the sand, and let's get out there and do something about it. The last thing that we often do that's a wrong thing to do is appease it. In other words, well, yeah, I feel a bit guilty about this, and I really should be doing something, so here's $5. Can I get a tax receipt? I mean, $5 here a couple of times a year, and we just appease our conscience and say, we've done our thing. I tell you, passion and burden demands all of it into it, not just appeasing it. But there are right ways to handle our burdens. The first one I want to look at it is let your burden ruin you. Let your burden ruin you. Take in the pain. Feel it. Understand it. Surround yourself with the same people that have the same type of burden. Let it absolutely wreck your life so that you want to study it. You want to find out what is the best way to handle this, what is the best way to have an impact on it. Let it ruin you completely and utterly if this is what God wants you to be burdened about. You know, there's this fellow by the name of David Fuhrer. And he invented a whole bunch of toys, but the most famous one he invented was the vortex. And I don't know if you've ever had any action with the vortex, but I tell you, even a weak person could throw this thing a long, long way. Do you know what it's designed after? It's designed after a missile, okay? And so it's not like a regular football. This thing is aerodynamically fit so that you can throw it a long, long way. We know it today as a Nerf ball. It's the vortex thing isn't as widely known. This guy made a fortune. He became a millionaire over the toy company that he had, and then he was so successful that Hasbro Toys bought him out. He became a multi-millionaire. He had it all. He was set for life. But one thing really bothered him. He wanted to have children. And they had tried everything, but they just couldn't conceive. And so they tried one of those fertility drugs. And they didn't just conceive once, but they had triplets. And so as his wife was carrying their triplets, one day she got up and she complained of a headache. They went to the hospital. And just as they were arriving, she collapsed. They rushed her into the emergency room and then into the operating room. But they determined that she had had an aneurysm, and she died with the 3 children still in her womb. He was wrecked. He has since remarried, and he has children now. But someone asked him, what do you do with that type of pain? What do you do with that type of burden and that type of anguish? How do you work through it? How do you get over it? And his response was this: because of my wealth, because of the resources that I have, I run in a circle with lots of people with wealth. And so this is what I do. I invite them to come with me to a country where there's poverty. And we tour the country. Not the good parts, but the bad parts. We look at children that are suffering. And all these wealthy people that I bring with me, he says, I just stand back and I watch God wreck them. And then I watch as they come back to America. I watch how God moves them, because without fail, they all have said to me, I had no idea. I had no idea this was happening. They were insulated. They were cushioned from all of this. They didn't understand the impact. And he says, that's what I do. I wreck people. I wreck people for God. And as they get the burden, they start to do something about it. So let your burden ruin you. Let your burden ruin you. I am being burdened And I want to share with you my burden.